What is the shape of water? Is it a circle, square? Not a triangle.
It's Splash! So The Shape of Water has been accused of plagiarizing a number of plays, short films, movies, things like that. Surprisingly, none of the sources listed was the movie Splash, which is actually surprising given a YouTube video that has been spreading around showing the similarities between Splash and The Shape of Water that are both similar in how scenes are done and how the film progresses, and some similar plot points as well. So after I saw that YouTube video, I knew I had to go back and I had to watch Splash. I'm not sure if I ever saw it before, but I thought I would personally give my feedback of this plagiarizing dilemma and if it really is plagiarizing or if people are stretching and grasping at straws and the things of the nature. Splash is ultimately about a mermaid that lives out in the sea, but after drying off her fins, she can turn human. Her fins just kind of turn into human legs, and she falls in love with Tom Hanks's character, and the two of them are in a relationship for 90% of the movie. I will get to the nitty-gritty of plagiarizing in the specialty category at the end of this review, so stick around for that, but for now, let's get into the actual review of Splash. Okay, first off, it's the people category. We're looking at the acting, characters, casting, importance, and chemistry, all of which gets perfect points except for the acting and the characters. Acting-wise, this is a comedy from 1984. It's just typical, so that gets half points. Character-wise, I think you're gonna remember more along the lines of who's playing the roles, who the actors are, and everything like that. But you're not gonna really remember his character. His character is just a man. That's all it really boils down to. So that gets half points. Everything else is fine. The casting, I think I'm pretty much fine with. Importance-wise, I think everybody plays a decently important enough role in the film that adds to the direction of where everything's headed. Chemistry, I think, because this is a romance and it's such an important feature to have, the chemistry is well done. Tom Hanks's character does have a pretty good chemistry with the mermaid lady. People category is 8 out of 10 possible stars. Next up is the writing category, which goes over the dialogue, how balanced the film is, the depth of the story, originality, and how interesting it is. Everything gets perfect points here except for the dialogue and the depth of the story. Nothing about the dialogue really stands out for me. It's all basically typical dialogue that you can see anywhere else. That gets half points, and as far as the depth of the story, I can't really say it's an incredibly deep story. If you want to compare it to The Shape of Water, The Shape of Water had a very deep and meaningful story to tell you, while this is just basically a love story in general. It doesn't feel as magical and as much of a fairy tale as, say, The Shape of Water did. So there's no real depth to the story, in my opinion. I think it's all a very typical romance, half points. Everything else is fine, gets perfect points. The balance of the film is just about this guy trying to woo this girl and trying to figure her out, and that's basically the concept of the story. Original, I would consider a 1984. I would probably say this is pretty original. Interesting, I think so. I was pretty much interested in these characters and seeing how they develop, seeing what ultimately happens in the end, because she says she's on land for 6 wonderful days. What happens after that? Writing category gets 8 out of 10 possible stars. Next up is the BTS category, which goes over the visuals, the directing, the editing, advertisement, and the music and sound. The only perfect score here was the advertisement. It was as advertised, no false advertising there. Most everything else gets half points. And the music and sound category, that gets 0 because I was particularly annoyed at the cliche, cheesy song choices that really took me out of the experience. So that gets 0. Everything else gets half points. Nothing particularly great about the visuals. Nothing challenging about the directing. Anybody could do it. Anybody could have edited it because it was a typical film. So all in all, the BTS category gets 5 out of 10 possible stars. Next up, we have the narrative arc category. It goes over the introduction, inciting incident, obstacles, climax, and falling action. All of these get perfect points except for the obstacles, as not a lot is going on in this movie. It's really one obstacle, and that is Tom Hanks' character trying to figure out the mermaid situation. The obstacles gets half points. Everything else is fine. The introduction gets you acquainted with all the main characters. The inciting incident is when the mermaid lady shows up on land looking for him. The climax is a pretty decent culmination of everything else between. It feels bigger than anything else in the movie, and the falling action is returning to a new norm. The narrative arc category gets 9 out of 10. Next up is the entertainment category, which goes over how rewatchable it is, how much of a fun experience you have while watching it, any impulse to buy it or own it, impulse to talk about it, and if it sucks the audience in. Rewatchable, fun, and sucking the audience in all get half points, and everything else gets 0. Rewatchable, yes. If I ran into it again, if it was on TV, maybe. I won't go looking for it, so that's why it gets half points. Fun experience, parts of it are fun to watch, parts of it are slow, and that's basically the same reason for sucking the audience in. So those all get half points, everything else gets 0. I don't want to buy it, I don't want to own it, I don't care to talk about it. Entertainment category, 3 out of 10. Specialty category, this goes over the 5 things that I wanted to know before I saw the film. First and foremost, this is a comedy film, so how are the jokes? I think a lot of it is lost in age, as this feels a little bit dated. I did chuckle here and there, but I think a majority of the jokes fell flat, and that's why I'm giving this half points and saying 5 out of 10. This is also a romance, obviously. How is the romance? How is the chemistry and all that? That's one of the main benefits of the movie. It does feel perfect as far as the romantic chemistry is considered. It's sweet, it's cute, it's funny at times. So this gets 10 out of 10 possible stars. How is this as a Tom Hanks movie? Because I do like Tom Hanks. To be perfectly honest, if I run into a conversation where people are talking about Tom Hanks, this movie won't show up. I can't say that he was terrible in the movie. I think he was a little bit forgettable, but he was fine, so I'll at least give him half points and say 5 out of 10 possible stars. When it comes down to the plagiarizing of The Shape of Water, if you look at all the reasons why people are accusing The Shape of Water for plagiarizing this play or this short film or this movie or whatever, is because certain scenes, certain moments in the film look very similar. What people are saying is that The Shape of Water plagiarized this short film because of this scene, and this play because of what is written here, this movie because of these 2 scenes, and things of the nature. Nobody's saying that it plagiarized an entire work. They're saying this scene, or that scene, or this scene, or that scene. And when I see that, I see inspiration. I see somebody who's watching these movies and they find inspiration in a scene, and so they take that into account when they make their movie, not intending to actually plagiarize anything. And the same could have been said here, because honestly, from everything that I understand from the plagiarizing accusation, Splash has the most scenes in which The Shape of Water could have easily copied from. It's all out of order, and it's all different places throughout the movie, and there's an entirely different tone in Splash, as this is a comedy, and that's a deep drama. At the end of the day, it's all in how you see the movie. When you see the movie, you're like, this is a different movie than Shape of Water. It just is. It feels different. It feels like a different experience. Yeah, there's similarities here and there, but there's also similarities in Free Willy. I mean, when it comes down to plagiarism, I'm going to say that this movie felt fine on its own. It doesn't feel like anybody stole the ideas here, so I'm going to give this 10 out of 10 possible stars. Was it halfway decent? I believe so. I believe they made the movie that they intended to make, even though at this point it's a little bit aged, it's a little bit whatever, but it's okay. 10 out of 10 possible stars for that. If we add up all the stars, we should get 73 out of 100 possible stars, 73%, which is okay. Guys, tell me what you thought of Splash in the comments down below, and as for YouTube, you know you can subscribe to me, hit that like button, hit that bell to be notified when I come out with my next movie review. Until then, guys, peace out.